So my friend Sean in Spanish Fork just sent me some photos of a car that burst into flames right here. And I was here within the hour and they obviously had it hauled off already. But you can see the grass that burned here, the radiator fluid. Oop. The radiator fluid that's still on the ground everywhere. The burn line on the grass that stops right here and burns this strip right here, and a half circle that goes out and around here. So I was about to give up and go home until I found this. And the way that I spotted it from the images that he sent me, which I'll pause the video and drive back to my house, he sent me photos from someone that took photos from right over there, and I lined it up with the Big O sign and the Wendy's here. And I could see that if I went that direction, it was just to the left of the Big O, so it must have been right over here somewhere, and I almost went home till I saw this. I'll show you the text messages as soon as I get home. I forwarded them to my other phone. But he works at a place where his customers frequent a lot, and he's very sociable with them. You can even see slight singe marks out to here. The tips of the grass, the tips of these blades of grass are all burned. So, in the text it said that 1 to 2 cars burst into flames, and apparently some of his customers are the ones who told him this. He sent me the photos at about 2:38, and I was down here by 3:38 and couldn't see anything anywhere, and I figured they must have hauled them off quick. I even sent him a text, said, well, I'm here and I don't see anything. You can see the burn line goes from here around over to here. So I'm going to pause it and see if there's any more burn signatures that I can discover. This is like melted into the grass, like some asphalt that has green grass growing under it. So this must have melted onto the grass just now. Or fiberglass. It looks like it's got fibers in there. But what's telling to me is the singed grass that goes clear around. So, cars burst into flames while sitting here at the Wendy's, which looks vacant. Oh no, there's people in there. You can see scratch marks on the ground right here, like they drug the car. Right here, all these scratch marks right here. Somehow they drug it, maybe when they were loading it up onto the tow truck. Radiator fluid. I'm assuming this is all radiator fluid, because I'm assuming it was the engine that burst into flames. When I got here, there was a police officer with his lights going and about 4 or 5 teenagers on bicycles, so I thought for sure I'm here. But then when I cruised by, saw that the teenagers on their bicycles took off, I figured, well, he was just ticketing them for smoking or something. The police officer was still here with his lights going, and the teenagers that were here on their bicycles were here watching the fire, apparently. So I'm gonna push pause now and take it home and show you the text that I received that sent me down here. But first, the singed grass, maybe from the other angle. You can see the tips of this grass is burnt. Just the tips. On each one of these, just the tip. If this was a car that caught fire and then it caught the grass on fire, it wouldn't burn just the tips of all of these blades of grass. So the grass fire surrounding the car, it's like the car was targeted, the car was the antenna, the car was drawing the most of the energy right here. Car was here, and it created a semicircle in the grass of burnt grass, but not because flames went onto the grass or it shot some hot liquid out onto the grass. It's only burnt on the tips. You dig down into the grass and it's green. So I decided a minute ago when someone asked me, because I was going to ask someone, pull over, say, hey, did you see a car burst into flames around here? And they asked, well, who are you and why are you asking? I'm a private investigator. Well, can I see your credentials? Nope, it's just based on the merit of the fruits of my own labor. Private investigator. And one of my homies helped me out with this one, but I think this is going to be happening more often than we can imagine, and they're going to be hauling that shit off as quick as they can to keep it on the down low. So here's some chunks of aluminum, it seems, that's still wet. I can feel that it's cold because this must have blown off the car when they sprayed it down, along with chunks of glass. So they apparently broke out a window maybe to spray the water inside the car. So there's the chunks of glass all over, but it's not melted, it's just broken. But it is clear up here on the grass. So maybe it actually exploded from the inside and blew the glass outward, because if a car's sitting there with the very front bumper here, how does the glass reach here? Maybe the power of the fire hoses that hit it blew the glass this way? And we've even got chunks clear back to here of like ash. Those are just pieces of ash, but I've been also finding small pieces of like this metal that's burned. Like this. This is a piece of metal. Anyway, I'm gonna look around a little more and see if I can spot anything else, and then take it home and show you the text that I received. I don't know how this would factor into the investigation. Maybe when they loaded it onto a tow truck, they made these skid marks here that go that way, which are similar to these skid marks clear over here that go that way. So it might have been two cars, because the width of this from here clear over to there, it might have even been three cars. Definitely one right there, which was the center of the main ignition, was this car here. But we have skid marks over there and skid marks over here, which means it was at least two cars. One car burning right there does not, when they tow it away, leave skid marks here and skid marks clear over there. Unless possibly they drug it here and drug it clear down and around the end. So I would say it's at least two cars. In the text, that's what it said, that 1 to 2 cars burst into flames. This is probably the police officer's footprint. I'm not even sure what you can see yet. But anyway, that's how fresh this is. You can still see the footprint of a jackboot thug. Just kidding. And there's the wet footprints. I can't hardly even see what's in my, there we go. So those are wet footprints of the same boot that left this footprint in this dust. Anyway, I'm just doing my private investigator thing. I'll try and find something else worth noting. I'm just gonna take one more shot of this singed grass, because you can see it's highly burned there, semi-burned here, and then even over here in the less burned area, and that's where I'm gonna focus and show you the burned tips. Anyway, this was definitely plasma fire, guys. And to all the doutards, ask yourself, qui bono, who benefits? Anyway, that's a separate subject for another video. Clear out into here, you have slightly singed tips. Okay, I think that's about it. And I can't see crap in my screen because the glare and the dirt on the lens, or maybe we ought to do that, wipe the lens. Even though the video's about over at this point. Anyway, are the fires in your neighborhood? It's got a few pieces of burnt stuff that's, you know, a little bit further. Some ash here. So, the most telling part to me is that it was more than one from the skid marks that are here, clear down to there, but the main location of the burn was right here. And the singed grass. Singed grass is probably the best indicator at this point that this was plasma fire, not just a car that's, you know, spontaneously combusted like cars, you know, do occasionally. Oh, wait a minute. No, they don't. But I'm pretty sure it was 2 cars, at least. The other telling thing is this asphalt that was melted onto the green grass, and as I peel it off, you can see the grass beneath it is still green. Maybe that's not asphalt, maybe that's fiberglass or something. Seems more like fiberglass or melted metal, but a very, very cheap form of melted metal. So maybe this all got up here as they were spraying it, and this piece was still hot, and that's why it bonded with the grass. Oh, that's a piece of metal for sure. Okay. Maybe even like a beer can or something. Man, I can't see anything through my screen. God, this is difficult. Trying to get my shadow on the screen so I can see, but not on what we're looking at. So that right there is a piece of gold colored metal right here. Probably take this piece home just to study it a little more and figure out what that was. So that's gonna be my keeper. On second thought, I think that's melted plastic, not metal. And the bumper of the car was hanging over this edge. Let me unzoom it. The bumper of the car was hanging over the edge right on top of the grass right there and dripped the melted plastic. That's probably a piece of the front bumper. So that also tells us that the fire was in the front of the car near the engine block, which is where these things always hit because it's the densest point, the most conductive, largest piece of metal that connected with a plasma filament, an underground lightning bolt coming up, or from above, down, who knows. But that's what this is. Melted plastic from the bumper of the car that overhung the curb there a little bit. And just because I really can't see crap, here's the burn area where the car had its bumper overhanging, and we have burned grass here, acceptable, but once it becomes singed here, clear out to right there. So the car was parked, here's the stall, from here to here. The car had its bumper hanging over the edge right here, and here's it's the center of the two lines, right there and right there. So the car was in this stall. The main burning is right here, but the grass line burns clear to right there, and then it abruptly stops. And I really can't see anything in my screen, so I hope this is coming through. But the singed grass line stops right there. And my point is, highly burned here, a little less, a little less, a little less, but still singed, clear out to right here where you can see right along the curb is where this grass burned hardest. Out here it just burned a little bit. For some reason, the main heat followed the curb line. Because you can see this is highly burned, highly burned, highly burned, but right here it's fairly green. But there's a highly burnt strip right here along the curb line. That leads over to where the main burn was. So if this was just a car that overheated and started fire, it wouldn't have burned the grass along the curb line clear over to there. Car here, curb line burned clear over to right in alignment right there. And I know this is overkill for the lack of, you know, sensational visual effects, but I can't see shit in my screen, so I'm actually just kind of guessing at what we're seeing and whether or not the camera's even focused. So I'm gonna call it, pause it, go home and show you the text that brought me here. So here's the text message I received at 2:30. That's when I forwarded it to myself at 3:45. Anyway, in Springville, across the street at Big O, a few are saying that 1 to 2 cars randomly burst into flames. I will cruise over after to look at cars if they are still there. He works at a restaurant in Spanish Fork where he has customers that frequent all the time. The few who he's referring to were his customers where he's working. I'll show you the pictures. He also sent a short video, but I can't really make out anything in the video. And this is how I identified the location. They were apparently at Walmart, and I could see that it was just to the left of the Big O sign. When you get the Big O sign right in alignment with the corner of the Big O building, it was a bit tough. I circled around for 10-15 minutes. I had already started going home. But because I could see Wendy's over here, Big O there, smoke plume here, and that's what this picture is of, the smoke plume from the cars that were burning there. Go back to the other one just for a second. If my phone will cooperate, that would be awesome. So there's the smoke plume rising up just the other side of the Big O. This person took this photo from the Walmart parking lot across the street from Big O. So this is the burnt, melted piece of plastic. I can tell it's hard to bend, but I can just tell from the consistency of it that it's not metal, it's plastic, which means this is fiberglass. So when people say, well, yeah, of course, that means that the fire was located in the engine compartment area where the front bumper overhangs the curb, and that's why it melted the plastic. Where else would you think a car fire would happen, Jeff? They always happen in the engine compartment because that's where the fire is, contained within the chambers of the block of the engine, and it just sometimes escapes. That would be them trying to fit this back in between their bookends of known reality. And at some point, I've heard a lot of people say that Jesus said in the Bible, to those people, knock the dust off your boots and walk on down the road. It's like throwing pearls to swine. They want to squeeze this back into their known reality. You're never going to be able to pry them out of their known reality. And don't even bother struggling with them as they try to contend with you and tell you, oh no, it's all totally normal. There's nothing going on here besides just a random car fire, man. For those of you that do know what's going on, this is it. Like the report from the Salt Lake Tribune said regarding those fires that shut down I-80 near Tooele last week, we don't even call it fire season anymore. This is our fire year. That's what I mean when I say this is it. I said that last year would be the year that the public becomes aware of plasma fire. I filmed 4 or 5 or 6 live ones and exponentially more numbers of roadside spot fires that I saw everywhere I went. Many of those roadside spot fires were from cars that pulled over. This is a piece of melted metal with unburnt sticks all over in it that I picked up off the side of the road, off of one of these spot fires, where clearly a car or a trailer or a boat on a trailer had burned. And in a semicircle from the point on the side of the road where the melted metal was, clear out a couple hundred feet into the woods, were many, many trees with clear 1000% plasma burn signatures on them, which means the plasma that burned those trees, as evidenced by all the burn signatures on them, was the same energy that burned the car on the side of the road. Like the car was the antenna, the conductor, whether it was just sitting there on the side of the road and caught fire or it pulled over onto the side of the road, the car that burned on the side of the road caused the trees around the car in a half circle to show all the evidence of plasma fire. That link will be in the description. These roadside car fires were what I started filming the most during the summer of 2021 while I was still driving truck. These are growing more and more frequent. This video will show you car fire and plasma fire in the same location, which proves they are one and the same. The energy that burned the trees was the energy that burned the car, just like the grass and the car. And the fact that you can see all this metal melted from the car down to the wood that was below it, and the only place that's burned is right there and right there, where it literally wrapped around this stick and all the other little sticks. Shit, I think I just broke a little piece off. That sucks. All these other little sticks are unburned. They're not burned all the way gone. This stick proves that that car didn't start fire from the trees and grass that were burning around it. The limbs just directly beneath the car were not burning at all. And the only place this stick is burned is right where the metal wrapped around it and encased it right there. So the molten metal drips straight down in accordance with gravity, and you would think flames go straight up in the accordance with normal fire. This proves that the sticks just directly beneath the car on fire were not burning. Therefore, it could not have been that the fire in the woods burnt the car. Anyway, this is what I'm saying. When I'm not going to go through and try and use logical deductive reasoning to try and chase down anyone who wants to escape this and fucking do mental gymnastics to fit it back into the known bookends of their reality, too late. You're gone. Knock the dust off your boots and move on.